Well, hello there, guys. Fancy seeing you here. So, this past week has been incredibly busy and incredibly exciting in the world of Nintendo for the first time in what feels like way too long. Almost eons, believe it or not. Naturally, given the gravity of this information and this news and this official update we got directly from Nintendo and Furukawa himself, I felt that it was important for me to hop on camera, talk into this microphone to you guys about this information and share my own thoughts. Now, I'm a few days late to this story and this information for a variety of reasons. I'm sure some of you could imagine if you look at my YouTube upload history over the course of the past several months. So I know a lot of people have broken this down. This tweet that I'm going to read, you've already read it and you've heard it and you've listened to other people talk about it. I, of course, have not even been really listening or following to a lot of what other people have been saying on YouTube as well. So a lot of my thoughts may feel like they're mirroring other people, but I haven't really been listening to what other people have been saying, other than what I see other fellow YouTubers and friends of mine talk about on Twitter. But as far as the YouTube space, I don't know nothing about nada. So let's not bury the lead any longer. We're obviously talking about Nintendo and Furukawa's official confirmation of the existence of the next-gen Nintendo Switch successor. They didn't call it the Switch 2. They didn't give any other official name. It's just called the Switch successor. They also confirmed a month ahead of time the next Nintendo Direct that will be happening over the course of this upcoming summer. And so this is all incredibly exciting. This is game-changing. This is like the real meat and potatoes we've been waiting for forever. Everyone on YouTube and on Twitter and on the internet has been predicting and waiting for and wishing for, of course, myself included. I know, of course, all of you guys as well. Maybe a little bit too much YouTube conversation over the past 6 months about Switch 2 stuff when there hasn't really been anything to talk about, but nevertheless, we're finally here. We have something real and tangible, and it is incredibly exciting. So, like I said, I know you've all read the tweet and heard other YouTubers read this tweet, but I want to do it myself for my own video. So this is what Nintendo said from the official Nintendo Japanese account. This is Furukawa, president of Nintendo. We will make an announcement about the successor to Nintendo Switch within this fiscal year. It will have been over 9 years since we announced the existence of Nintendo Switch back in March 2015. We will be holding a Nintendo Direct this June regarding the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024. Please be aware that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during that presentation. And so there it is. There's the bomb drop. There's the nuclear explosion of real, tangible next-gen Nintendo console information. Now, as I was mentioning before I read the tweet, we have the two huge announcements that are part of this tweet. And it is interesting in a way that Nintendo and Furukawa chose to share this information just via a tweet. That lines up, of course, with their most recent investors meeting, so that's why this happened. But it's also fantastic. It's the kind of thing that I would like to see Nintendo do a little bit more often. I really appreciate this transparency. I think that the situations and circumstances leading to them making this tweet are unique, so I don't think this is going to be the signal for change of Nintendo. But nevertheless, it's really fantastic. So, like I was saying, the two main bomb drops are, most importantly, Switch successor was finally talked about. They're letting us know next gen is coming, and between now and March 31st of 2025, so just under a year from now, they will talk about and confirm and reveal the Switch successor or the Switch 2. I'm going to get into my theories on timing in a minute, but that's basically what he's saying here. The other thing he says is there will be a Nintendo Direct, and this isn't the normal thing where they say, hey, tune in tomorrow at 7 a.m. for a Nintendo Direct. They're saying a month from now. We're letting you know there will be a Nintendo Direct this summer in the month of June. And they're letting us know not to expect Switch 2 information, which is very smart on their part. But they're not waiting for the Nintendo Direct announcement. They're just saying, hey, it's going to happen next month. This is the kind of tweet and messaging from the company themselves that says, everyone, calm down. We're just going to tell you some of our plans ahead of time. Here is some transparent information, so please enjoy when we're ready to share. So let's talk about the most important thing here. It's the Switch 2, man. The Switch successor. This thing is coming our way soon, you guys. And I know he says the next, between now and the end of the fiscal year, March 2015, yada, yada. I get that. And it's tough to know and predict exactly when they will choose to show it because this is based on plans that we couldn't possibly understand. Now, with the Direct coming, again, June 2024 is a month from now, so it doesn't even feel real, but we're in the first week. I guess we're now in the second week of May. So a month from now is June 9th. So next month, there will be a Direct. We know the Switch 2 won't be there, so they're making sure to level set expectations as far as that goes so people won't be angry when there's no Switch 2 information. Although, there is a couple things that we can expect, such as Metroid, that I'll also be talking about, so hopefully that shows up there. But they've level set as far as next-gen hardware goes. That's not going to be in the Nintendo Direct. So when I think, and I'm just going to speak personally, these are my own theories and thoughts and predictions as a fan. I've seen the leaks. I've heard the things about what may be happening, public, behind the scenes. Nothing to me feels concrete. So all I ever do on this channel, as you guys know, is just speak from my own personal perspective and prediction, 95% of the time. And so what I think will probably happen is, I would say the earliest they would actually give us concrete information about the Switch 2 could be within a few weeks after the Nintendo Direct, you guys. If you think about the last couple of summers, sometimes Nintendo does spread information out across the summer months, right? Such as having unique Nintendo Directs focused on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or Splatoon 3 or Pikmin. Or, well, they didn't do a Direct for Pikmin, but you know what I'm saying, or other partner showcases, right? They'll do a Direct, but then they'll also do unique things specific to big games or big announcements or big products or whatever the case. So I think that there's a chance, and this is the most optimistic I could possibly be. At the earliest, in June, we get the Nintendo Direct. I think the following month in July. What if Nintendo is saying, we're obviously not going to put the Switch 2 information in the Direct, but 3 weeks later in the month of July, we're willing to have some kind of presentation or showcase. Could be a 5 to 10 minute video reveal or a trailer. Could be a 15 to 20 minute presentation that's like a Direct, but isn't labeled as a Direct, where people like Furukawa and whatnot, or Koizumi, are showcasing and talking to us, the fans, in a video format about the Nintendo Switch 2, and showing us what it is and giving us some early on details, such as if it's using cartridges, if it's backwards compatible. In theory, they would have to have at least one major game reveal in the same presentation where they reveal the Switch 2, if not a few. But the format remains to be seen. I'm just talking about timing. So I think at the earliest they might do it in July, July or August, soon after the Nintendo Direct. I understand that for a lot of us, our knee-jerk reaction might be to say, oh, they're telling us between now and March of next year. Well, that means they're going to do it in the 11th hour, March 30th next year. We're all assuming the worst case scenario, that it's going to be the longest amount of time within the window they gave us. And I understand that. And look, it is possible that that's what they're going to do. But my heart tells me, and this isn't me just being a fanboy who wants the next thing right here and now, my heart tells me that they're going to reveal it this year in 2024. And so, yes, at the earliest, I think it could be within a few weeks or a month after the Nintendo Direct. Now, my harder prediction is probably still in like the fall time. The Nintendo NX was revealed to be the Switch in October of that year, 2016. So that's the fall leading into the holiday, right? And so I think a lot of my feelings and opinions about it still tend to overall lean in that direction, that it's going to be more of a September, October, or November. Honestly, even December. Look, I'm not even going to rule December out. So I would say it sounds like a large window of time. But I think between September and December is probably the most likely. It could be as early as July or August in the summer months, but I'm more leaning towards that fall time. I think that 2025, between January and March, is probably the lowest on my guess, believe it or not. And again, I know it sounds optimistic, and I sure could be wrong. But of the three ranges I'm talking about, the summer months, July and August, the fall months, September to December, or the 2025 period of January through March, I think that is the least likely of the three. I am targeting that fall period. And so here's the reason why I think they might still do it in 2024, whatever month they choose in 2024. And it's because they've now officially told the world, hey world, you can expect the next console in the future. They've acknowledged its existence. We've seen declining sales of the Nintendo Switch, which is a natural thing. This was always going to happen. There's nothing wrong or bad to say about it. It's just a thing that always happens. And so with declining sales, the confirmation of the next thing, they've told us this Direct in June is going to focus on current Nintendo Switch software and probably give us one or two big games that will release on the Switch in the back half of the year over the holiday. I think they need to start now planning ahead for sales of the Switch to slow down even further. And so hopefully they're planning to release, not reveal. Hopefully they're planning to release the Switch 2 also sooner than later to account for the fact that now everyone is going to start slowing their Switch purchases and start waiting and saving their money for the next thing. And so, I don't know. The Switch 2 very likely is probably still going to launch in 2025, but what if it is still going to launch before the end of 2024? Or what if it's still going to launch even in Q1 of 2025, right? What if it is going to be a February or March launch next year? If that's the case, then they would have to tell us this year. And I think they're riding that delicate balance between knowing people are going to stop buying Switches because they've told us about the Switch 2, but also releasing the Switch 2 soon enough to account for that so people save their money from the Switches and decide to buy Switch 2s. But of course, and this kind of relates to stories from a few months ago, and in fact, even the last video I uploaded to this channel, this has to do with the games or game, the lineup that would be available day one for the Switch 2. Are they going to have a couple of big games, both first party from Nintendo and hopefully some kind of third party releases, available for the Nintendo Switch on day one? And if it was going to release in 2024, if we're lucky enough to have the thing in our hands this calendar year, do they have games ready? Will they have something ready? That's for sure the determining factor on when they're going to release the thing. And so, look, man, the elephant in the room, it's Metroid Prime 4, right? Shocker, surprise. It's the only thing on my mind. It's more important to me than even the Switch 2. And I'll be honest with you guys, and hopefully this is exciting to you, I am going to be making another video that is specific to Metroid Prime 4. So I want to make at least one more video touching on that topic because I have a lot of theories and speculations about how that could be playing out. And I think that there's a lot of substance and evidence to the case. But without going too deep down that rabbit hole, let's just touch on Metroid Prime 4 for a minute. I am still in the camp of thinking the game is going to be cross-generation. I think the game will get some kind of a release on the Switch 2, whether it's a slightly upgraded port, whether it's a version of the game that is really designed to take full advantage of the Switch 2's power jump, whatever that would be, I think it's going to be coming out on the Switch 2. There's a lot of opinions out there on when it would come to the Switch 2 and if it's worthy enough and big enough of a title in a franchise to support a next-gen console on day one. And I understand both sides of the argument. I personally believe, yes, it would be smart for them to release it day one alongside the Switch 2 if that's their plan. And so I think that whenever the Switch 2 is going to release, 2024 or 2025, I like to think, and maybe my fanboy bias is coming into play here, I'll be fully honest with you guys about that, I like to think that it has to do with when they know Metroid Prime 4 will be ready and available. So that Switch 2 and Metroid Prime 4 launch together same day and date, right? As Joey from Friends would say, put your hands together. Switch 2, Metroid Prime 4, day one, let's freaking go. So I like to think whatever they're planning has to do with that. Now, even if it's not Metroid Prime 4, Nintendo themselves needs at least one massive title. The other very common title to talk about is a new 3D Mario. I do think that's an option on the table. We can't forget something like a Mario Kart. I think a Mario Kart is probably the other ideal franchise to launch with. So I think it's either Metroid Prime 4, a new 3D Mario, or it is Mario Kart. Maybe they surprise us with an Ocarina of Time remake that's designed for the Switch 2. That could actually be a pretty worthy launch title as well if it's a significant remake, but I'm leaning in the camp of the other three. So, yeah, the timing of this thing, I think it has to do with when it's going to be ready, and it has to do with what that big launch title is going to be. And look, if it releases this fall, let's say they're going to reveal the thing in like July and it's going to release in November. I know it's crazy optimistic, but let's say that that's what they're thinking. I mean, look, we know Call of Duty is now supposed to be coming to Nintendo platforms. What if they have an opportunity to launch a next generation Nintendo console with a huge first party game like a Mario or a Metroid game? And what if the other biggest franchise in the industry, Call of Duty, what if the first Call of Duty game on a Nintendo platform is the launch game of the newest Call of Duty for this year on the Nintendo Switch 2? We have to think about those third party titles as well. And Call of Duty is just the obvious one that jumps in my mind. I mean, maybe there's some other ones that I'm not thinking about, but think about it. A huge first-party Nintendo title and the current relevant Call of Duty releasing the same day to support the Nintendo Switch 2. That's a huge win for Nintendo, and it's a huge win for the console. The last thing I feel is really important for me to talk about here is the transparency Nintendo chose. Like I hinted at earlier, I love this. I think this is fantastic. I think I even, tweeted about this as well the day that this tweet went out from Nintendo and Furukawa, it being jokey, but also being very deadly serious. Just basically hinting at the fact that the version of Nintendo that doesn't, how did I phrase it? That doesn't treat their secrets like their nuclear launch codes is my new favorite version of Nintendo. Because, again, just announcing a new console and saying a Nintendo Direct is coming on the surface isn't strange or revolutionary. It's the fact that Nintendo told us about the console before revealing it and told us about a Nintendo Direct, an important one, a month ahead of time without the typical tweet that just says, hey, it's coming tomorrow at 7 a.m. or whatever. And so this is a different new level of transparency from the company. And I want to believe, I know I talked about this earlier in the video as well. I want to believe it's a sign of change and a sign of Nintendo realizing, hey, yes, we have to keep things close to our vest to a certain degree, but have we been too protective in the past? And maybe going into this next generation, we can start to loosen up in the right ways at the right times. It sure could mean that, but I have to be honest, if I was going to hazard a guess, I think this is a unique scenario. And like I said, the circumstances around where we are in the Nintendo Switch's life, the slowing sales of the hardware, the very slow library of games this year, 95% of Switch games so far in the first half, as great as they are, or at least as exciting as they are for a lot of people, they're all re-releases, and they're also just ports of Mario games, for the most part, other than one or two titles. And so those factors, along with this coinciding with their most recent investors briefing, just tells me that more than likely this was a time that Nintendo could no longer keep plugging up the dam. They had to open the floodgates even a little bit, just a crack. Next gen coming in the next year, and we're going to have a Nintendo Direct next month. And there won't be Switch 2 conversation there. So those three main bullet points are huge positive changes for Nintendo, and I think it's good. Nintendo, you should do this kind of stuff more often. Maybe package it a little bit more exciting than just this, very dry tweet. But at the end of the day, whatever format it comes in, I think is fine. And this is something else I mentioned, how doing something as simple as this, a 3-sentence tweet about really huge news, just increased overall excitement and engagement around Nintendo and their future like 1,000%. Like that. Like Switch time, right? Boom. Everyone is like, Nintendo, Nintendo, Nintendo. Switch, Switch, Switch. Let's go, let's go. Next gen, next gen. That's all you needed to do, Nintendo, was just share something tangible and exciting. It didn't have to be in a crazy sort of reveal like a trailer on YouTube, but even just doing it as a tweet really made a huge impact. And so it's a good thing. Great transparency. Their hand was probably forced for all of the factors and circumstances like I mentioned, but you can't deny how positive it was for them to be willing to share something like this. And so time will tell if this kind of transparency keeps up or if they continue to loosen up even just a little bit. Again, I don't think any of us are asking for all of the floodgates to start opening from Nintendo or any company. It is exciting to have secrets kept and then finally get excited when they are revealed. But I think that Nintendo is one of the companies, I mean, look, who am I to say? They're clearly so successful, right? So, yeah, who am I to even say what to do? They know what they're doing. But as a fan and a consumer and someone who has been running this YouTube channel for a decade now, over a decade, it is nice, and it is something I think we would like to see as Nintendo be a little bit more honest and forthright with what they're doing. So we'll see what's included in the Nintendo Direct. We'll see what the aftermath of that Nintendo Direct is, and as soon as that thing is over, the speculation on when are they going to reveal the Switch 2 is really going to kick into high gear, more than it already is now. It's the thing that brought me back to making a YouTube video today. And so we'll see what the signals for the future of Nintendo, but man, this is exciting, you guys. I can't wait for next-gen Switch hardware, you guys. I love the Switch. It's been fantastic to me, but I've had nothing to play on it this year. None of the games releasing, as great as they are, they just don't appeal to me. I'm a Mario fan, but I'm not into Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I'm really not into the Paper Mario games that much. Princess Peach wasn't my kind of genre of game, even though I love the character, of course. So, I mean, it's fine. I'm not complaining. It just... I happen to be at a personal state with the Switch where it's not doing much for me currently. I'm waiting for Metroid Prime 4, and I'm waiting for Nintendo's next generation. Show us the future. So this is what I have to say about that. Very exciting times. We'll see what happens in the future. So until then, thanks for tuning in, guys.